So I'm delighted to be here at the STC amongst one of the most notable clusters within Northamptonshire and the wider region. I'd like to thank Pim and the team for the invitation to speak here today and for the support that he has given to provide to steering the innovation ecosystem and the work on the Silverstone vision, which I know Adrian is going to speak to imminently. So I would like to speak to the commitment the university has made to driving economic growth within the county and sub-region. Now, in the brief time that I have here today, I want to highlight some of the key challenges facing the UK, but in particular Northamptonshire, and why we thought it was important to understand the strengths and areas of improvement of the local ecosystem, and importantly for us at the University of Northampton, the role that we need to play in supporting innovation in the future of our county and our next steps. So firstly, if I can offer just a really brief reminder of the challenge, which I'm sure will be familiar with most of you in this room, if not all. Our government has outlined 5 key missions during their term. And while there is an emphasis on resolving challenges related to the NHS, safety, inequality, and the challenge and opportunity of clean energy, economic growth is the principal mission. But our economic growth has been limited, and the forecast demonstrates key challenges facing the national economy. Secondly, and we spoke about this earlier, we have stagnating productivity within the UK. UK productivity, typically measured as output per hour worked, has experienced a turbulent trajectory over the last 2 decades. According to the Office for National Statistics, the average annual productivity growth has slowed significantly since the global financial crisis of 2008-9, and between 2010 and 22, GDP per hour work grew by just 0.5% annually. Recent firm-level data shows that in 22, over 70% of UK workers were employed in firms with productivity well below the national mean. Frontier firms, those within the top 10% in productivity, contributed 38% of total productivity growth between 2020 and 22, while lagged firms contributed just 9%. The productivity gap between high-performing and low-performing firms remains persistent and wide. As I'm sure you'll be familiar with, there are several structural and systemic challenges that have continued to challenge the UK's sluggish productivity performance. We've seen chronic underinvestment. The UK lags behind France, Germany and the US in capital investment and skills development. And our investment in infrastructure, R&D and workforce training has not kept pace with global competition. We have inadequate diffusion of innovation. So while some firms and regions excel, innovation and best practice are not spreading effectively across the economy. This leads to a productivity divide between our frontier and our lagged firms. We have fragmented policy and governance. A lack of joined-up policy making across sectors and regions has hindered coordinated efforts to boost productivity. And regional disparities, especially in places like Northamptonshire, reflect uneven support and outcomes. And then we have labour market dynamics. The UK has seen strong employment growth, but many new jobs are in low productivity sectors. Skill shortages, especially in STEM fields, and weak local talent pipelines really do exacerbate this problem. And then finally, we have a gap when it comes to digital transformation. Uneven adaptation of digital technologies has limited productivity gains in many sectors. And I don't want to sound all doom and gloom. It really isn't doom and gloom. We do also have opportunities. I'm sure I do not need to tell many of you in this room that we are seeing rapid change in the 4th industrial revolution. We spoke about just that earlier. Share of patents related to artificial intelligence has tripled in the last 5 years, and we also have the new industrial strategy, where innovation is a golden thread throughout. Innovation enhances productivity, fosters competitiveness, enables adaptability in a dynamic global market. Nevertheless, to harness the full benefits of innovation, it must be supported by policy, strategic investments, and a collaborative ecosystem that encourages sustainable development and mitigates the associated risks. So at a more local level, the challenge does continue. I've already highlighted this at a national level, and that there are issues around economic growth and productivity, but the same is true in the local area. Northamptonshire boasts a rich tapestry of industries, from high-performance technology and advanced manufacturing to logistics and creative sectors. Our county is home to some of the most dynamic and forward-thinking businesses in the UK, many of whom I'm sure are in the room today. And your success stories highlight the transformative power of innovation. However, while we excel in fostering startups, and again, this is probably not unfamiliar, we must address the challenges of scaling these businesses to ensure long-term growth and stability. As we look to the future, our commitment to innovation will be pivotal in overcoming challenges and seizing opportunities. By prioritising innovation, we can build a resilient, inclusive and prosperous economy that benefits all residents and businesses in Northamptonshire. And what makes this report so important for the county is an examination of the growth potential for SMEs with evidence of what has been transformative for SME scale-up and growth. We want the report to be a true catalyst for change, both for our university, so the University of Northampton, but also for any organisation that is looking to support the development of SMEs within the locality. We want to use this to build an ecosystem, understand what our key strengths are, our weaknesses, our opportunities and our threats, and we want to be able to support you with innovation diffusion. So the University of Northampton commissioned this report with Whitecap to better understand the innovation characteristics of the locality and the role the University of Northampton must play in driving innovation within our industrial base. We recognise that we cannot do this alone, and the report has been co-produced by a steering group of key partners. It has been informed by consultation with businesses, many of you here today, and key stakeholders, and it is also supported by a comprehensive evidence paper. This report recommends how Northamptonshire can overcome some of the challenges faced, build on its past, and shape its future as an innovative county in the future economy. It outlines how we can look to deliver products, services and process innovations which make the most of our natural assets and translate our research excellence into commercial opportunity. Now, I've seen a couple of familiar faces, but the report was launched yesterday to a broad audience of partners, and I'm delighted to share some of these with you today. So the report analyses the strengths and weaknesses of the local ecosystem against the key characteristics of a thriving ecosystem. In summary, the assessment identifies sectors with the highest growth rates, so i.e. advanced engineering, food and drink manufacturing, logistics and construction. Analysed startups and scale-ups in these sectors to provide a broad understanding of the innovation assets responsible for their transformation and development, and then conducted a literature review to identify other innovation assets, such as workforce skills initiative and investment flows. There are recommendations against each of the key characteristics of a thriving ecosystem. Unfortunately, I only have a short slot, so I don't have time to go through all of them here with you today. But if you are interested, then I suggest that you look at the executive summary, which is available on the University of Northampton website. However, there are a couple of worthy of note and highlighting to give you a sense of the challenge that we need to address. So firstly, aspiration and vision. The report found that the county, unfortunately, lacks innovation leadership. There are inspirational leaders in the form of businesses, innovation, individuals and institutions that act as enablers. However, there is a lack of a cohesive leadership group to take us forwards. Northamptonshire lacks an overarching clear vision to build consensus and buy-in with key stakeholder groups. And the county, unfortunately, lacks a unique identity or brand to communicate the innovation ecosystem value proposition through storytelling and messaging. And because of this, the county does not instill a sense of ambition and confidence amongst individuals in Northamptonshire. Secondly, when it comes to capital and funding, we lack an integrated innovation funnel that spans from ideation, commercialisation, startups to scale-ups to attract investors, including venture capital. I should say there are success stories of grant funding, and whilst some scale-ups in the region have received Innovate UK funding to support their growth and development, the overall uptake of Innovate UK funding opportunities by SMEs in the county is low. And one of the reasons for low levels of private investment was the lack of business education, was the feedback that we received. There also appears to be a lack of awareness or understanding about suitability to qualify for UKRI funding opportunities and the availability of R&D tax credits. And as we've already mentioned, the startup rate is good in Northamptonshire, but transitioning these businesses to become scale-ups is challenging due to the lack of funding and support on offer. One of our responses at the University of Northampton to this is a campaign called Fueling Innovation that was also launched last night, running from June to October to show businesses what is already in place within the locality and to raise the tide in terms of innovation. With a whole range of partners there to support, including support from UKRI, Innovate programmes, local grant investment provided by West Northamptonshire Council and delivered by South Midlands Growth Hub, workshops on R&D tax credits, investment readiness workshops, a knowledge transfer partnership tour that will come to Silverstone Park and run through the support on offer through KTPs, which celebrate 50 years of operating this year, and of course one of your own coffee and croissant events also. Please go to our website to find out more information, and indeed there's a QR code coming next that will take you directly to the details of the campaign. Thirdly, talent and community building emerged as a challenge. There is a high demand for greater business support for innovation, but there are insufficient levels of business support, and the support that does exist lacks effective marketing and communication. The county does not appear to have a coordinated talent pipeline strategy, although talent and skills shortages in the UK, in a UK-wide challenge, particularly in STEM-based subjects. A lot of businesses were hiring nationally or internationally because there was not a strong local talent pool. That's what we were being told, particularly in the areas of technology and advanced engineering. Now, key actions that we are taking forward to address this, amongst others, include space for innovation hubs around the county was identified as needed to create a talent steering committee that includes representatives from local employers, such as the University of Northampton and others, schools, colleges and government bodies. And this committee will guide the development and implementation of the talent pipeline strategy, ensuring all stakeholders are in line and invested. And indeed, the university has already been progressing a co-created integrated skills plan for the county with our further education partners. To round up then, lastly, I want to turn to key cluster and partner strategy. This was a key finding of the report. Northamptonshire has an abundance of logistics parks, including the forthcoming Segro Logistics Park, The county also sits within the logistics golden triangle, as you already know, with a high density of distribution facilities. We have several large anchor institutions in the food and drink sector, a strong agricultural sector and developing food tech sector also. We have a lot of construction businesses, however the sector was difficult to engage with and seems to lack the networking and physical assets of an innovation cluster. And I certainly don't need to tell you that Silverstone is the most notable cluster in Northamptonshire. But whilst Northamptonshire has sector-based clusters, there is no real evidence of a deliberate cluster and partner-based strategy. Lastly, the University of Northampton and the colleges were not thought to have a good enough anchor role in key sectors. However, the university's graduate pipeline does fill roles in local businesses, and this is something that we want to work with you on further into the future. And at this point, I think it's a good time for me to pass over to Adrian Price from the University of Northampton to take you through the plans for what is an emerging cluster strategy in the form of the Silverstone vision. Thank you.